Trading Simplified. Good afternoon, everybody. Welcome back to Solana Summer with DeltaFi, your Hero Labs panel. From left to right, we got Crypto Messiah, Gunny, Rob Levy, and myself, RT Random Task 555 on Twitter. Good to have you guys back. There's an energy in the room today. This particular moment right now is a little critical, maybe a little bearish, but what a week. What a week we've had. How are you guys doing today?
What's up? I'm not bearish. You guys are a little worried. We bounced a few $100. Yeah, let's.
The crypto markets are awfully resilient, considering that in the past, anytime we saw any kind of equities dump, and today, on a relative magnitude basis was pretty severe, by a lot of standards, and crypto seems to, look, we're affected, but so far, we're shrugging it off a bit.
Gunny's got a whole new look today. You got the Solana glasses, not the least of which we noticed your microphone, camera, green screen. You're just, so fresh.
Doing it big now.
So mortified by my ghostly appearance the last few weeks.
And, all those Solana gains, he figured he'd go out and treat himself to a new studio setup. So it's already paying off. Let's take a quick look at the audio. If you guys have any comments on the audio, speak now. Because I don't want to find out 20 minutes in that Crypto Messiah was too quiet.
I think we got my audio on point, especially after that stream with KJ last night and got all those issues. So I do appreciate the help on that, RT.
I just hopped in at that moment, and then I was like,
you were there when we needed you, man.
He's having the same issue I had a few weeks ago, so I've still got you cranked up here. I guess it remembered from last time. So if that's
Everybody
all
says
good,
audio's good, yeah.
Perfect. All right. Okay. I'm actually going to Chicago tomorrow. So I'm going to get a pair of those sunglasses too, so we can all walk around and be the coolest fucks on the golf course. I get to finally meet Rob and Dan in the flesh. Pretty pumped. Are we going to visit Solana offices? Don't they have like an HQ around there?
They do. Solana Labs in the city. We'll see.
All right. Well, I hope so, because what better time to go visit than all new highs? We gotta get to the chart, guys. This don't worry about this Dixie chart. We'll talk about that later. It might be breaking into a yearly resistance. That would be pretty awful. But let's go look at Solana, because this thing just fucked. Like,
really did.
Erupted. And it's extremely overbought. So don't, if you're just finding out about this, don't be like, oh, I better rush to buy. But like
I think it's still going up.
It is, but it's like, it's gonna. It's almost got to. But
it just supported the story of
the interesting thing here, because we're seeing like these meteoric grade pumps, Solana, AVAX, all these alternative L1s. I think that the general consensus is that Ethereum is still not cutting it, and I think that's reflected. When you look at some of these things in the Solana ecosystem going off. AVAX just announced I think $150 million DeFi grant. For people to come over to their protocol and build out that DeFi ecosystem. And it's kind of echoes of what we saw back when Matic announced like $100 million ecosystem grant. And, Matic went fucking crazy after that. The issue here is that, Ethereum we had EIP 1559, and we're burning a lot of Ethereum. And the amount of Ethereum burn is staggering.
It's a lot.
It's a lot.
We're going to pull it up here.
We're on track to burn maybe $350 million worth of Ethereum in the first month, and that's Ethereum that could have been hitting the market. That's Ethereum that could have been sell pressure. But the big news Ethereum wise is we have these layer twos, both Optimism and Arbitrum opening up this month. Now, what some people don't realize though, is that this is the first layer two thing ever, that's ever been done. They're coming out with the training wheels on. There's going to be transactional limits and things like that. It's not going to be something that's instantaneous, but I do think interesting opportunities will arise from that. But I think the fact that they are coming out with the training wheels on, that there are breaks on this train, just contributes to the bullish case for these other layer one systems. And we're seeing that come out right now, like Solana, AVAX.
You're talking about AVAX, Didn't they get the grant today? Something, not get the grant. They put
DeFi
out
grant.
Yeah, they put it out.
They're bringing Curve, Finance, and Aave over to the AVAX ecosystem. that should bring a lot of liquidity over there. Really interesting. AVAX is something people don't talk about much. And I haven't looked at some of these other layer ones like Polkadot, like Cosmos, Atom. It's something to look at. But damn, look at that volume. I mean, that's absurdity. And I can see
once it
Solana
decided
right now, and things like Solana, Luna, they're laying the blueprint for what these other things are going to look like. And it's just relentless, fucking straight up. In a week you look at it and you go, holy shit, what just happened? I think we're seeing the beginnings of that.
We are seeing the beginnings of my favorite part of the cycle. And that not just like, okay, alt sees a number go up, but it's these echo rallies, right? And you have Solana obviously kicking off. Everything Solana just pumped. I mean, I've got my short list here. We could fly through it in about 10 seconds. And so when you have Solana breaking out to all-time highs, you're going to get Cope pumping, FIDA pumping, Hxro moving, Maps pumping, like Media, Mer, like everything on this list. The only thing not moving that I have here is Mango, and I think it's just too new, and it looks like it's heavy inflation. I don't know. It might be one of those like Oxy that came out and had to dump first. Everything, it's all moving. So here's the exciting piece. And you should go over to CoinGecko if you haven't already. Click on any one of these coins, go to Solana ecosystem, and you get yourself a whole list. Great place to start if you're like, what the hell should I be looking to trade today? Is any of these, hasn't moved yet? Looks like whatever this is, down in this range. But then AVAX today broke out. And so we can go to the AVAX ecosystem. And now we can look down here. I think the number one would be PNG, Pangolin. Kevin Weiner's in the audience today. He said, I'm a Pangolin maxi. So he's obviously picked up a bag. And so that's like the Uniswap of AVAX. And then lastly, I think the next one and only other one I'm looking at is Cosmos. I know Rob's a big fan of Cosmos. Cosmos ecosystem. You got a whole list here. So if Cosmos breaks out, I haven't even looked at that chart. But these, and so we have this roadmap now. Seeing what happened with Solana, seeing what happened with all those Solana plays. AVAX today. Is Atom going to break out next? Can we be loading up on Atom maybe before it breaks out, just in anticipation? That's the best kind of trading.
Probably. I mean, I was watching. Atom just happens to be right above AVAX on my alt USD watch list and trading view. So I do see them side by side all the time. And even when I started kind of watching them this last winter, and they were kind of around the same price. Atom was always like a buck higher. It was like $5. AVAX was $4. But watching how those things trade with one another, obviously AVAX got a much more kind of ejector seat rise back in the spring. It went to like $60, and Atom maybe only
that was insane,
25 or 30. But just a week ago, those two were trading at parity. I mean, they were even with one another, $10, $11, 11, 12. And I do love those trades of trying to figure out where the hot ball of money is going to flow to next. And last week we mentioned AVAX, that you pulled the chart up. I mean, it was something that I was looking at, and those.
Yeah, in retrospect, I looked at it today. I was like, damn, I probably could have front ran that trend line. We'll look at what we were looking at last week. I probably could have front ran that trend line because of everything else that was happening in the market. Even right here, I looked at it. I was like, oh yeah, if this breaks out, I'll buy the retest. And AVAX does not do retests very well, at least not today. Today's the breakout still, but this level should probably be support now. So that's an interesting little area to be thinking about getting long. And not buying the bottom is not a big deal. Catching the trend in a higher low, that's the real ticket when we're looking at potential all-time highs. You got to think this thing, like everything, if we go into a next bull cycle or another leg, should all be hitting new all-time highs. So yeah, pump chaser zone. If we get real nasty here, quick flip of support. If not, we got the Dixie up against resistance here. I'm just going to do a quick rundown of the market here, guys, before we get into the discussion piece. I want to hear from Dan today. That hat, I feel like, got you all giga-brained out today. But with the Dixie pushing up into resistance, this is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I mean, it had every reason to break down here, and this trend line held it up. And now it's pushing highs. Sounds like equities are in trouble. I haven't really looked today because I don't care. And then lastly, or primarily I should say, is Ethereum. which has been perhaps the real spark to this with EIP 1559, just broke down out of this little channel at daily resistance, retested it, and is now, there was like zero support after that tag. It just went whoosh. So it could be that we are in for a little pullback season here, and that could last a couple weeks. Let's just pull up what that looks like on the weekly, because that's probably the best time frame. Well, we've got ETH BTC is another story. Let's go see these. I put them out in the newsletter yesterday. Got some nice clean levels here on one of these charts. And it's not doomsday, right? It's really what you need to have happen. So ad nauseum, since we broke down, we've been talking about bear markets don't just start and go. You get a retest. The argument happens up at previously lost resistance or support. So we've had that now. And just like I don't think we could have just gone full 80% in one straight move, we had to come test some levels. I think it's highly probable that to go full bull, you're going to have to come test some levels. And so right now that's looking like weekly support around 2,700, which I bet aligns really nicely with a pump chaser zone. It's actually,
that's what the quarterly VWAP is as well.
Yeah, smack in the pump chaser zone, quarterly VWAP there, and this 50 moving average is probably going to sneak up there along the way. So everything bullish points towards short-term bearish, if that makes any sense. I know that pisses people off. They're like, well, you said it was bullish. It's going down $500. Well, you have to have these debates, and I don't think we want to go straight up.
Don't you look for that? Doesn't like good trading is like, I want to buy this, like I need to get a bag on. If I don't have it yet, I got to put something on if it gets away from me.
Yeah.
But like you welcome that pullback to dive in if you get,
And you're quiet. You're quiet, buddy.
Yeah, let's pull that new mic up a little bit. Positioning is critical.
Better?
Yep.
No,
I can turn you up, but it's not as clean.
When I'm like hyper bullish on it, like how I feel about Solana right now is like, now I'm annoyed that it's like
gone so far so fast. Yeah, trust me, dude.
Yeah, I find dips for a long ass time, and like now, like it's gone, which I'm happy about. But like, it's like now I gotta wait for another dip.
Yeah, it is. I'm right there with you. At $34, I day traded it, and I closed it at like 38 at the end of the day. I was like, nice, made a little money today. And then but like, look at this daily. It was telegraphed, absolutely telegraphed. Big long downtrend, breakout, retest, gain a level, retest. And I watched it the whole way through, and just kind of like casually, though, I was like, I didn't think it was going to go fucking nuclear in 3 to 5 days. So it's been pretty impressive. I've got a bag, but it's never big enough when it does this.
Was it the apes that did it?
Who knows? I mean, we know who's involved in Solana. You've got a lot of massive funds, capital it's sitting there. So you got to figure that once the cat's out of the bag, it's out of the bag. We could sit here and be moon boys all day and talk about the valuation potentials for future, even just in comparison to Ethereum. I was looking at it a bit today. Like, how do you want to value this thing? It's number 10 right now. It's a $20 billion market cap, up from about 10 last week. Ethereum is what? And this is obviously like the easiest comparison to draw, and it's shady because then Ethereum drops and it all falls out the window. But it's 353 billion. So how many times does 20 go into that? Like 15 16, or 16. So we could 8x from here and be half of Ethereum's market cap, assuming inflationary factors are somewhat moot. Obviously there's a burn on Ethereum now. So you think about that, like we're looking at $400 Solana, and is that the kind of valuation that firms like
target.
Jump Trading are sitting here and they're saying, we're breaking new highs, I'm just going to throw another 50 million, 100 million? Like,
no, that's my target. And I think that what I think is that, I can't speak on their behalf, but those are the types of moves that they're looking for ultimately. They're not looking for not that they're not going to be market making their way up the whole way, but their core positions, like they're in this stuff because it's, arguably very disruptive to certain, parts of our lives.
Perhaps parts of their business. Right? If these guys are trying to recreate the New York Stock Exchange, that's going to affect their bottom line. So they might as well get in at the ground floor if it's
Or certain
innovative.
Solana ecosystem projects are looking to break, various centralized systems. And they're getting behind those, and it's all Solana's underpinning the whole, the whole infrastructure. Then it's going to benefit massively from it.
Yeah, this kind of the biggest chaos PRZ that I can find through this consolidation with the low. It's not even the lowest low, but let's take the midpoint, take that high, kick it out. I mean, that's kind of what the bull market looks like in my mind if we continue up. There's a smaller one here, there's a bigger one. Choose your poison. But so yeah, looking at that. Now, the only reason I'm not buying more Solana, like at that retest last night down here and stuff, is because I'm playing these ecosystem plays. And I think that they are going to run with it. I think they probably have a better percentage upside, if not perhaps a little more risky in like longevity and sticking around, right? Like Solana will be around more likely than any one app built on it. So there's a bit of that inherent risk, but things like Radium just looks so hot. It hasn't reached all-time highs yet, right? So there's a little more relative gain potential, I think, and that's why I've been spreading out my sand basket. So
somebody was putting, I think it was somebody that's a little more, maybe more Ethereum focused, was commenting that a position on Solana is really just a bet on Sam. What do you guys think of that?
Indirectly, yes. I mean,
it's got Sam Beta. It's not just
that
Sam. I mean, we watched some super
engineering,
super brilliant guys building it and dreaming it, and so
sell me all you want at $3 and fuck off.
That helps,
right? If that's his attitude, like if it's not his project, he's certainly balls deep in it and is there to support and knows how to pick value and it's a Sam Bill.
Well, there's just a real powerful ecosystem around it at this point. It is the largest participants in traditional financial trading markets who are looking to it for, obviously they're all, knee deep in Ethereum and Bitcoin and, and whatnot. But when it comes to, again, like breaking the trading side of the financial system, like this corner of our industry it's a very powerful group. And it's, whether it's Sam or it's Jump or it's Susquehanna or it's one of a, bunch of other trading firms, hedge funds, macro players, all looking at Solana, getting involved in Solana, and not just investing into it or the projects around it, but participating in the development of the ecosystem and the various projects that are on it. And that's why I've been buying dips in it nonstop.
Yeah. It's early too, right? You got to think. Right. I get some haters online that, and I'll never understand the maximalism thing. Like, it's like you have Ethereum, something else is doing well, you feel the need to be threatened by it and knock it as if its success will somehow hinder your own. I don't get that. What I do love though is when the knock on it is that it's buggy or that it doesn't work very well or that it's because that is to me more of just commentary on how early it is in the development cycle.
It's not supposed to.
And you're saying, 20 billion market cap, and it barely even works. I wonder what it's going to be valued at, when it's closer to a V2, a V3.
When I traded stocks, like during the internet tech boom, yes, I'm a fucking drummer. We don't need to have that discussion again. You used to, you want to talk about clunky, like just clunky technology. Let's just talk about like how slow the systems were for trading electronically when you were trying to do it like in real time. And like you used to have these moments, for example, where you'd go in and buy and put a big order in to buy a bunch of stock, let's say, and like you'd be looking at 15, 20 seconds and having no idea how much you got filled. But like, it was just the way that you did it, and you knew it was clunky. And then go, 5 years later, and they're doing things in fucking microseconds. Like, it's just, the world evolves quickly, and it's supposed to be clunky. It's early. It's supposed to not be perfect at this point, and that's what you're investing in. And it's like, again, it's like, it goes back to this kind of petri dish thing of like, you got to pick the good productive projects that you think have real vision and can execute, and then you have the aspects of this business that are like super tip of the spear, test and prod, risk getting rugged. It's just part of what you're investing. It's why there's reward there. Otherwise, it wouldn't be there. Yeah,
and one of the most important things in crypto is longevity, right? There's this idea that if you're just around in 2 or 3 or 4 years, even as a trader, investor, but more importantly as a project, you'll be doing better than you're doing today. You'll be developing, the rising tide, all boats kind of vibe. And so even though there's probably a handful of projects that I own tokens in that are built on Solana right now that they might not even be that strong. I don't do deep dives. I'm like, oh, Solana based? It's Solana summer. Let's go. And they all just pump, and I don't think anyone knows half of what they're doing. So, enjoy the ride while it lasts. Have some fun with it. But eventually I'll have to go do some research and find out which ones really are sticking around. Have you guys heard of Saber?
Yeah.
What are your thoughts on Saber? Because it is a really weird one. And real quick before you start, I'll just say why it's weird. It's only listed on Radium and Serum Dex. It's not on FTX. It's not like any of these. You can't chart it even on CoinTrader Pro, so I assume it's not on CMC. It's just nowhere to be found. The only place you can find it is on that, Serum Dex. Apparently it's in Phantom Swap, although I couldn't do it today. It's not in there. And then it's on CoinGecko. And it's got a $31 million market cap. And it's apparently pretty dope.
Robbie, weren't those, you remember at the meetup, there was like 3 engineers sitting on a couch off to the side that just were like, they came to the meetup, but they were literally just coding the entire time they were there.
Was that
I think those were the Saber guys. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's promising. It's always nice to see them working cool, at the party.
Actually. Yeah.
I mean, you got Jump Capital, Multicoin, CMS, a handful of recognizable names, Coin98 Ventures sitting here on their cap table, which just tells me, again, that staying power. They're not going to be out of the door, they're not going anywhere anytime soon. And it sounds like they're kind of trying to do a bit of a Forex thing with just stable coin cross-chain trading, liquidity. So
all the good stuff.
Yeah. Do you guys have any insights on that? Rob, sounds like you know a little bit about it. You've heard of it.
No, I don't. I hear it because it's just my radar of what's in my feed, what I'm seeing on Solana, what's popping up. I would imagine that they will be listed on FTX at some point soon because I think FTX is a strong supporter of Solana builders. People who they've chosen, they're going out of their way to build and create a more robust network on Solana and take their liquidity there. I think they're gonna most likely get the reciprocal type of activity. So I would imagine it'll get listed. I'm hearing good things. It's all about those little, you start hearing about stuff in different places and then all of a sudden you're like, you know what? It's not a coincidence. It makes sense.
Yeah. The thing that attracted me to it is how bloody hard it was to buy. To be honest, I look at this chart, I'm like, well, fuck, I missed it. And then I just wait, how do I even buy this thing? I spent 2 hours this morning in like a boxing match with friggin' Serum Dex and couldn't, load, reload, all that stuff. And I think that's a known thing. It's kind of in beta. I think they actually announced that they're going to just let Radium take over that. But point is, it should get listed, right? Should it not? And then if that happens, you have your liquidity, then it's a little more on people's roadmaps or sort of radars, and suddenly 30 million looks like a deal. So that was my thesis anyways. I aped into a bag at like 14, 24, 26 cents. Buying it all the way up. Didn't buy enough at 14, but that's the way she goes.
Yeah.
So yeah, Saber's probably one of my sneaky feeling plays. Other than that, it's just all this all this list right here. So anyone watching, if you want a starting list from which to do your own research, not copy trade, then that's probably an interesting list to start with right here.
I do think we're at an interesting point in the market where if a couple of big entities feel like you're at a level that represents value, they feel comfortable in the overall range, like there's money, it's not scared money anymore, like money's getting put to work. And if you're 60%, 70% off your all-time high and everything, you haven't gotten that money flow, it's happening. I mean, things are going up 15, 20, 25, 30, 40% in a day at times on volume. So even if we get a pullback here in Bitcoin and Ethereum, there's some names that are gonna outperform and they won't necessarily pull back. Now, obviously, it'll be in a headwind, but I do believe that there are names that are enough away from their all-time highs or like, where a lot of volume traded on the initial, the big rally, that people are looking to pick off some gems. It's clear to me. The tape shows it. Even on day when most things are red, you're seeing some things that are up 20%, like, and they're not retracing that day, or at least on the pullback. So it's that to me is reassuring. Now, when a big macro something happens, like the China shit and everything we went through a few months ago, there's not many things that come through unscathed. But I do think that there are some names that are going to come through much higher than where they are now, even if we get some some pullback in the bigger picture here.
Yeah, we saw it today, really. Let's look at Ethereum. This is what happened to Ethereum last night, right? Fell right off the midline, right out of the range into this kind of local range reload zone. And Solana, Serum, FTT, like a handful of the bigger plays there, they just made new all-time highs today. Not FTT, but Solana and Serum went on to make all-time highs, albeit on bearish divergence and lower volume. So like it almost looked like that exhaustion. Okay, now let's have a pullback. But yeah, I mean, exactly what you said. They raced to all-time highs as Ethereum basically, fell out of bed here and is just chilling now. So I agree. And this right here, this kind of range is probably what we're looking to dip into if we're a bull and we want to get continuation and we need some strength, because this is definitely like kind of waning momentum. And whatever this looks like on some of those charts will probably just equate to a pullback, whatever this ends up being. If it's just a pump chaser zone, names like this, can Solana drop 30% from here and be very bullish? Yes. And so I got my powder ready. I did take some profits at things like these resistances and stuff. My DCA bags are untouched, but my FTX account is back to a lot of cash because I want them dips.
Yeah.
I want the dips. I don't know about Solana though. That thing tagged the all-time high. I was hoping, if you look at the line chart here, you get candle body close. What's this? Oh no, on the weekly. If you look at the weekly, the candle body highs are here. That's what I was like $50. I was like, oh, could I get that in some kind of like 1 week pullback? Dixie breaks out, shits everyone pants, Bitcoin down to 42. Like, could we get something down here? And then it just tagged the all-time highs actually within a few pennies. It didn't even touch it, and then it just shot up. So
can you do me a favor?
I don't know if I'll get that one.
Can you do me a favor and look at I know that's the Solana USD pair on FTX.com. Can you look at the Solana USD pair on Coinbase? I just want to see how much kind of that.
They didn't list until this, so you don't get.
That's still a significant bump. I do think that more and more people are, even not the overseas FTX.com people are kind of really getting into Solana. So seeing that the volume get up there on Coinbase.
This is a breakout. It's a breakout for the ages. It's price discovery. It's monstrous. It says, it's screaming next big leg. So it's hard for me to see a sustained pullback. It always is when you're at new all-time highs, but
It'll pull back.
yeah. I just mean like into this level, I don't know about 30, 40, $50. Like we may get, not to be a predictor
You ever look
here,
at it
but
like to say like, well, where does it? You got to think about like what a likely pullback looks like. Like, okay, so a pullback looks like 38. Like, where should we be trading to get back to an area of support if you were going to pull back 38%? Like, you know what I mean? Like,
well, and we just tagged. Well, it was a little lower, but shit. All these drawing tools. We're all gonna have.
So like when Bitcoin was at when it broke through 20,000 the first time, and like you have this idea of like, okay, well, it's not really a level to get out at, because above 20,000 you're probably going to see a lot of buyers, and obviously you're going to have like options and gamma buy-ins and all the other shit. But you have like this idea of like, if I'm trading it, like where should it extend to if you think it's actually going to go need to retest and make 20,000 or somewhere near 20,000 support now. And so like that extension,
it didn't,
is an important place to look. Yeah, it never went back there.
It really didn't. What it did do is tag the pump chaser zone. Actually, it didn't even do that. It front ran it, and that's usually a really bullish sign. When you get a front run of a 382 and then a continuation, like once this candle comes and you've just didn't even tag that, you're thinking very internally bullish. So let's go back over to Sol, and we'll see. It front ran it last night, actually, quite a bit. So, yeah, it just looks good. So I guess my point is, like, for me, do I want to buy this dip and say screw it, $70, like we're going to 100, we're going to 300, like, or do I want to get greedy? I think a lot of people, myself included, will miss some really good dips trying to get a bigger one, and that's sort of the nature of the bull markets, right? But it's going to blow people's minds, I think. If this thing does not, follow Bitcoin and ETH, like if they really struggle here for a few days, and this guy just keeps plowing away, it's kind of what I've been asking for years, which is for some goddamn separation in this market where everything's just not married to Bitcoin's price. So we'll see. New paradigm.
You guys ever see the guy that goes by Magic Poop Cannon?
Yeah, he's like the top trader on TradingView, or one of the top following accounts.
He put out a tweet that said he thinks that Bitcoin's going to like 16,000.
Oh, yeah, but hasn't he been bearish for a while? I seem to remember some really bearish stuff from him before. And I'm not saying it's out of the question.
He's bearish on one social media and bullish on it.
Yeah, no, I saw something. I couldn't tell you when, but I do remember kind of like, okay, it was like weirdly bearish at a very odd time, and it ended up being terribly offside, which is fine. You're allowed to be wrong.
His feed is fucking bearish as shit.
Yeah. I thought was interesting. We had that Mark Cuban tweet about Dogecoin, and hey, bud, can you close the door, please? Thanks, brother. We had the Mark Cuban tweet about Dogecoin, which was pretty kind of, it's not that it was out of character, but he was really getting behind it, like shilling it. And, even responded to a bunch of people's tweets who were like, what the fuck are you talking about? And then this morning, I see a tweet that came across where like the Doge Foundation was restarted. That's been kind of dormant for 6 years, with maybe Vitalik and Elon Musk's brother or something as advisors or whatever. That's an interesting one to me.
Doge enjoyed that today, that price.
It's retraced fully, but there's just something about, like, you always have to pay attention when people like that are talking about stuff. It was the same way, I remember Novogratz talked about Luna, like when we were in the shitter, when it was $6 or $6.50 just a month ago. And it was like, I wonder if it sees $10. And he was like, basically saying, I'm long it, like, he was saying, buy my bags, really, or I think this is going to double quickly, so I don't know. When people like that with deep pockets who are in there spraying capital around, I like to pay attention. So I don't know what Doge is going to do, but I have a feeling the probability might be better than 50-50 that it outperforms here. That's my gut, just from, you know, putting my finger in the air and watching the chatter from that.
Glad you said finger in the air. Do you think, like these billionaires, they're regular people. Do you think like the way we call up our buddies and we're like, hey, like go buy some Doge. I just bought a bag. Do you think they call up their billionaire buddies and they're like, yeah, I'm long. Like, how much power does that have, right? Where
they talk, I'm sure.
Pick up a bag and they're just like,
after they get long,
we're gonna get long Luna here with another 100 mil. And call my buddy up. Tell him.
I think the smartest billionaires are never like, I'm thinking about getting long. I think
yeah.
They put their position on it and then they call the Blue Horseshoe stream.
This is Luna. Luna just exploded. And I remember the day we were sitting here talking about it. I was cautiously optimistic. I think I still have the squiggly here that we could get up there and retest. And I remember things were not that bullish back here. This was all still Chop Town. And so this felt like I was being a big, bulltard. And then it just took that level and said, see you later. We're going to go into price discovery. So that's impressive. I still don't know what the hell Luna does. Should have probably looked it up back at this retest on August 9th. But
the one thing I knew was when we were traveling, almost every time I've traveled out of overseas, Luna was there. And, one of the guys was just hustling and making a name and presenting, and they had a big like Korean user base, and they were out there. So, but they I believe UST is like an algorithmic stable coin. I know that's, algorithmic stable coins are,
they're my old friend Share Protocol, or whatever it was, the dollar protocol. I love that, man. That was my first 100x of the year. But then it went to zero.
You and Nick, yeah. I mean,
then it went to zero.
It was a big thing, but they've got a mechanism where you burn Luna, and there's just, I think there's a solid little Rube Goldberg mechanism there that is working.
This was fun. This was fun. It actually started waking up the other day. I don't know what they're cooking over there, but algo stablecoins are one of the hardest problems to solve, and they're so gameable. So what you get is it's very Ponzerific, right? It's like get in early, get your mints, get your, Ample was really the first one, and then it's a game of chicken, right? As soon as it starts coming down, and those rebases are going to dry up, and then you get into negative rebase, and everyone's trying to come up with a mechanism. So. Have you heard anything about UST? Do you think they might have solved it? Looks pretty stable. It's too stable. It's not even fun.
It's got some support.
Okay. I keep seeing it. People are jumping all over SBF's thread about it on Twitter, like UST, and I was trying to figure out if it was his. I don't know. So this makes sense to me now. It's Terra. It's Luna.
Yeah.
Terra money. How are you doing down there, Messi? I know we had a lot of back and forth. We had a lot of back and forth with bearish, with bullish, we're at resistance. Do you see, I'm asking because I don't think you're particularly long on Bitcoin and Ethereum. You're more into a handful of DeFi plays. What's your strategy here? Like if you see weakness in ETH, do you dump otherwise bullish looking alt charts to try to grab a dip, or what are you looking at?
Yeah, I mean, it's for me, I'm mainly just trying to be cautious. I do think that there's a lot of undervalued DeFi plays. My main constraint to operation is liquidity. And unfortunately, the bridges over to greener pastures right now aren't liquid enough to facilitate that operation. So the way I see it, and which is kind of what I've always done, I'm kind of just trapped in this holding game, where I have to sit around, I have to wait for my turn, which is something I've always preached. It's if you're in good projects and they're good and you have experience, sometimes it is the best thing to do to just sit on your hands and wait rather than to try and chase everything. But I'm still of the mind that if we were to have some kind of DeFi, Ethereum DeFi resurgence, that it would have to be now or soon. before Bitcoin goes to 100K and, you know, bends everything over. I think that's inevitable. It does make me a little worried to see Sue and Kyle constantly tweeting about how Bitcoin's going to, you know, bend everything over. And they've only, I mean, you know, they've kind of heightened those talks recently. You know,
I saw that today, actually. Yeah.
just great. And we're talking about probably some of the largest holders of Ethereum. You know, we're talking about some of the guys with the power to actually do that too. You know, whether they do it or not, you know, it's kind of just a matter of how they're feeling and what they say. Whether they do it or not, you know, is up in the air. But for me, it's a waiting game. You know, I'm in good projects, and if we do see some kind of weakness here, I agree. You know, a pullback is easily warranted right here. It's not necessary, but it's not something that would be surprising whatsoever. So my main barometer is I'm watching this DeFi perp on FTX. We are still above the yearly VWAP, although we're right on it right now. We're right at the bottom of that channel. If we lose that, I'm going to have to cut some exposure. Not because, you know, I think it's going to zero or whatever, just because if I can buy all this shit that I'm in right now at a 20% discount, then, you know, why wouldn't I? But once again, you know, we have these Ethereum layer 2s launching this month. You know, there will be restrictions on those, but we haven't gotten any details on the restrictions. I mean, how severe are these restrictions going to be? In other words, is going to be a good indicator on, you know, whether this can thrive yet or whether it's going to take some more time. You know, one thing I have been talking about is, you know, you do have a lot of these DeFi yield protocols, and in the past, I've been a yield farmer, you know, and I have done well on that. You know, if you are in a situation where you're a bag holder and you are stuck and you're waiting for your turn in the hot ball of money rotation, you know, yield farming is not such a bad thing. The problem with this yield farming stuff is it also creates this sense of attachment to what you're in, you know, and I think I fell victim to that in the past, to where I was like, you know, well, I'm making so much damn money, all these dips always get gobbled up, you know, why would I sell? You know, and here I am. I'm making passive income, bro. Passive income, it's great. But
the underlying drops 80% when you make it.
Yeah, then the income's not so passive anymore. And that's just kind of how it plays out. But, you know, it's something that I was looking at. I was looking to buy that FTT dip the other day. FTT looks like an absolute monster, and really just to get some SAM exposure and exposure that is independent of, you know, whether Ethereum DeFi is fucking or not, whether Ethereum is fucking or not. Unfortunately, all the liquidity is it's not on DEX. It's like almost non-existent. So the only way you can get filled there is a big dump and you happen to have limit orders up. And the only way you can get out is a big pump and you have limit orders up.
How do you find those limit orders? My experience with them is shit. On 1 inch, you know, it wicked into my orders multiple times, never filled.
Well, here's why. And, you know, a lot of people don't understand how these limit orders work on Ethereum or really any other protocol. You don't get filled on, it's not like a standing order in an order book, like you would see in a centralized exchange or even a decentralized exchange like Serum. It's actually, you are broadcasting an arbitrage opportunity out into the world. And what you were saying is that, hey, I'm willing to, you know, sell, or I would like to buy FTT at $45. Okay, so let's say the price of FTT is at $43. Well, somebody out there has the ability to come in and fill you at $45, and then whatever profit they make on that arbitrage, they get to keep. They did you a favor. They filled you exactly where you said you'd like to be filled. And there's an incentive there. You know, there's profit. But here's the thing. The actual price, the market price, the candle body, not a wick, has to be, you know, below or above where that limit order is to actually create that ARB. If it's just a dump and, you know, we get slippage on that AMM and it wicks past your limit order, you're not getting filled.
Yeah, so it has to kind of sit. It almost has to become a bad order for it to get filled.
Yeah, pretty much. And that's, you know, one of the things, and there's a couple of people, you know, that are working on solutions for that. But, you know, one of the reasons why I've, you know, been a Keeper DAO fan for so long is they actually return that arbitrage profit to the user. So even if you did get, you know, if I had my orders up buy orders, let's say at 45 for FTT, and it goes down to 40, and they fill that arbitrage at 40, then they pass that spread to me, and I get to collect that profit. But still, it's AMMs and limit orders are not limit orders at all. They're kind of just a hack.
It's like a reserve order. It should have its own name, to be honest, like a resting arb order. Like,
of course, the more liquid the market is, the higher probability your limit order will actually be filled.
And perhaps the smaller the size of it as well.
Yeah,
you get into that 20, 30, 40, 50K plus, and you're starting to.
It's a fine
you have
balance
to be $4 past.
Gas costs, liquidity, order size. It's got to make sense. Why would these people come in and fill your order? If the gas cost is greater than the arbitrage opportunity. Based on the amount of liquidity.
That makes sense.
There's all these different factors.
I think that's why that's where I was misled. In my mind is where I was just like, oh, sick, it hit my and not understanding that underlying, which is entirely on me, but that's all good. I did pick up some FTT today. I sold some yesterday on this breakdown here because I was buying it at like sub 30 and sub 35, and I was like, fuck it, I'll take a little in case we want to pull all the way down. But I rebought it at 45 because it's just too strong. I'll add.
We saw this, and I mean, we've been watching. There was another big holder on Binance. I mean,
yeah, let's look at that. I saw that too.
Maybe it's CZ. Maybe Binance was a big owner of FTX equity, probably tokens. They've been getting out of stuff, which they're entitled to. They've owned it, I'm sure, from sub $1, but there was some aggressive T-whopping. Remember, like a couple weeks ago in the FTT BTC cross, and you could see it. I mean, you could see in the chart. And like, if you pull up the FTX chart on Binance.
Yeah, I've got it here, and I'll show you what you're.
Yeah.
I'm trying to find it for everybody. It's here. Twice distribution. Yeah.
The first go round, the TWAP was way too aggressive, way too fast, way too much per minute. And it provided, I mean, even Sam Trabucco, he commented like, I don't know what's going on, but relative to everything else, this is a fucking buy. And he got in there and they put a green candle.
That was the bottom. Yeah, they put a bottom in it with that. Yeah.
But this one seemed to be much more in the FTX or in the FTT USDT cross. And you can see when you dial into like the hourly or 15-minute or 5-minute or 1-minute chart, you can see that it is programmatic. Someone is T-whopping, and it's a regular amount. So I said it the other day in the office to Gunny. I was like, shit. I mean, if you're gonna sell some Solana on this pump, it's probably a good time to roll into FTT because clearly some big owner, whether it's Binance, CZ, whoever, they're getting out. It's not toxic flow. They're getting out in a programmatic way. Take advantage of it.
Yeah. Well, think about this. I mean, FTX has been buying a lot of things, right? They've been paying a lot of people, and they pay in FTT a lot of the time. So was that Tom Brady? Was that the MLB? Was that Blockfolio? Was that the gaming esports guys that they partnered with, right? There's a lot of money going out from their treasury in the form of FTT, and I'm guessing that those entities don't necessarily want to buy Christmas presents with FTT. They want that cash. So is it unusual then for them to perhaps even hire a market maker to go and liquidate it for them? And that's why you're getting that kind of programmatic exit that you can just spot. So that's an interesting point though, right? It's not necessarily a change in anything fundamental about the project or fear or news. It's literally just a single large entity cashing in on a deal.
Yeah. I mean, because
presumably a deal.
Fundamentally, right, everything that Sam and everything that FTX is doing, they are improving their leadership role, I think, globally. So if anything, like if you told me a coin was going to make an all-time high and you told me it was FTT, I'd be like, that makes sense. That makes sense. Like, I think it's mispriced relative to the equity. You get a lot of benefits. You get serum airdrops. You get stuff by staking FTT. It would make sense to me. So when you see some flow and true like fundamental supply demand stuff where someone's getting out who they're not getting out like they have knowledge of anything. It's non-toxic, just steady flow. Usually that presents an edge. So
real quick, like I'm a 5-year-old, could you explain to me what T-WAPing is? This comment came up in the chat a few times, and frankly, I wouldn't know how to explain it, so I must need to learn it.
Yeah, it's like a time-weighted average price, TWAP. So you're basically selling a certain amount every over a period of time. So okay, I've got 1 million of this to sell. Let's sell it over 1 day, so 24 hours. So that would be a certain amount per hour, and you're literally like selling,
just bing.
Yeah, you can see it in certain coins, like someone's selling 60 of something per hour, right?
You always know that it's like some larger player too, because they're generally, it's like Amber AI or somebody that's a broker that does it on their behalf, and you can just like, you can see it in the market. Like, you ever see like a market that's kind of quiet, and then you see just like 86 lots going off every 13 seconds.
Yeah. Which means, then you start doing the math. If I see like a 15 lot trading every 15 seconds, I'm like, okay, someone's selling 60 per minute. So then you're like, okay, they're selling 3,600 per hour. And then you start doing the math. They're selling, it's about 10,000 a day. And then you start thinking, okay, it's been going on for 2 days. That's 20,000 they've sold. How long is it going to go on? So it's really just they decide we're going to get the average price over the next 5 days, meaning we're going to sell every single and that's a big boy. That's a big boy.
Take that gain down. Yeah, no, and that's kind of, that makes sense to me why it might be one of these entities that's like, if you don't really know crypto, but you have this whack of FTT and you just want to bring on somebody like Amber Group, like Dan mentioned, and just be like, look, take care of this for me, keep 5%. I just need the cash.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, okay. So, and your I guess your TLDR here is like, don't be scared of that. If anything, it presents an opportunity. It's like one of the better reasons for something to dip as far as looking for a dip.
Yeah, or just, it gives you an opportunity to just like sit back and wait a minute.
Like, they're offloading. Let them finish.
Yeah, you know that. Yeah, I mean, listen, if you notice it early, guess what? If you're watching and you see it happening early, then you're like, shit, maybe I should get out of my position here to buy it back cheaper in a day, in 2 days, because it looks like a TWAP is starting.
Almost like a free look. Because algos are smart to it, and once they sense it, they're going to back off. Liquidity is going to dry up. It's going to float a little lower than it probably should. Interesting.
Yeah, see, this is that order book. Is that what order flow trading is? Is that kind of? I don't really do that. Is that what you guys are talking about?
Yeah.
The guys that do trade off that stuff, they swear by it. Like, what the hell's a chart? Show me the order flow. Show me the liquidity. Show me the books.
That's how it was in real pro trading before it was all electronic. I mean, that was the trading pit. That was me sitting here watching time and sales and watching every print. You see, in real time what the activity is. I mean,
are guys on the floor dickheads? Like, if you get if you get some guy coming in sweaty, like, I got to offload 50 lots, and he's screwed, does everyone just back off and be like, sorry bud, I'll buy it way down here, go fuck yourself? Like, was there a lot of that, like, absolute cutthroat, or did they kind of help each other out a bit and say,
help each other out? If you were like, locals helped each other out.
Yeah,
that's what I'd like.
Unless
to
you didn't
that.
like the guy, and they didn't like him, the guy was gonna take pipe, like.
Everyone just stands back, like, no, we're gonna let this dip a little further, and then we'll buy it off you.
Well, then you got to think it was a competitive marketplace. Still, there's some people who didn't give a fuck. If their box told them the value was $6, they knew they were a dime around. I'm 590, 610. Some people didn't give a shit. Some people could read the room. It's really
that was one of the right. I agree with Robbie on that. Like, one of the advantages of it is you could when it was really crowded, there was so much energy, you could feel when something was about to erupt, right? Or like, you'd be like, oh shit, I better get out. This thing's about to break through this level. Or you can see, or like, if you were standing in certain spots, you actually can see like orders being flashed into the pit from like the Goldman desk. And you're like, oh fuck, here we go.
Yeah.
Or you might get a guy who's got a tip and he knows something's coming and he comes in like trying to be poker face as fuck, like, yeah, I'm just gonna offload a few lots, no big deal. And you're like, why? What is this? Like, there's so much of that.
It wasn't
poker
even
going
that. No, I mean, are we even allowed? We probably could talk about the stuff now that the floor is gone, but like, that half the business was like, your broker is like, you know, your wife's cousin Johnny, who's like, you know, got the big retail deck and has big order flow, and like he'd stand next to him and he'll be like, I'll sell you, you know, 100 of these, and he'd stand next to him and he'd buy back 50 from you right away, and then like it would be a tick and a half or 2 ticks below the market, and like then you just turn around and get out of it, and he hands you $1,000 and he's got $1,000 and your day goes on. And like that, most of the trading was like that. And then when shit moved, it was like all bets are off. You're like, is every man for himself.
Yeah, I missed out on that stuff. But that, I mean, in the single listed stuff from early on, like, yeah, the trading pit was nutty.
Taylor Sims has a great question here. He says, do you now prioritize order flow or do you focus more on the chart? And I guess this would be more for Rob, because I could tell you right now, Dan, I don't think you do a ton of charting, right?
No.
You're a lot more like, okay, 88 sixes and go, but more hold and working on other things. I know Rob and we like to look at charts. Do you prioritize order flow post pit, like on TradingView, or do you still look at that?
It depends on what your time horizon is, right? Like, you know, if order flow is really good for very short-term stuff. I mean, it's good to know long-term also, like back in the options days when you knew some specific party was buying a bunch of these $5 calls and you knew they bought 20,000 of them. So like if the thing moves and then you start seeing someone come in and selling these fives, you're like, oh shit, that could be the guy who just bought 20,000 of them 3 days ago. Get the fuck out of these, you know, like it depends on your time horizon. But right now, like that TWAP example, yeah, you've got to make a decision. How early in the TWAP program is it? Does he have 100,000 to sell and he's doing 10,000 a day, 25,000 a day? You know, like it's that question of, okay, do I want to take the other side of this where I know that there's a big seller in here. Everything else is going up. This big seller is holding FTT down right now. Do I want to take the other side and maybe get out of some of my other shit that's gone up or put on a spread? Like for short term, order flow rules.
Yep.
But for long term, it's kind of less effective, I think, in this trading view days, because you could get like people that put in those space needles and charts, right? They'll sweep a book, buy it up 20%, the thing will come right back down. Like, what does that mean? You know, is that some whale trying to send a signal? Is it like I think it's really like snowflakes.
Colin, do you day trade?
I was just going to say, I don't really day trade. Like I'll fuck around during the day a little bit, but as far as like setting up my plans, sitting at my desk, get the binder out, like run the plan, like I don't really day trade. If I do though, I need to learn this order flow.
Like, you know, guys that actually like point and click trade, like pick names that are moving and they get in and they scout, they'll go and buy, you know, 100,000 of whatever and sell it like 10 cents higher. And
there's a lot of day traders at TRI. Yeah, there's a lot of guys on the 1 and 5 minute charts that are just taking these little almost algorithmic. They have a lot of scripts and you know they'll fire it and they'll have their stop loss set and they'll go 60-40 on the day. Yeah, they'll go 60-40 on the day very regularly. That's their win. It's like they take every single one and they'll get 6 winners out of 10 or whatever. Or 4 or 2 winners out of 10. Like, you know, it's very high number of trades and very 50-50 kind of ballpark. It's not my style. I work with you guys. I'd rather work on other things. I'd rather walk outside. I got a kid now. Like I have better things to do. And then swing trading is so juicy, especially in this market. And I'll give you an example here on Oxy. Actually, I should probably pull it up on my Twitter, but I put it out on Twitter because it was just a really good example, and you know, it was a little bit of a flex because, you know, on FTX where it shows the blue arrows and the red arrows of where you bought and sold, and not that I planned it that way, but you know, I had some sells up here on Oxy, and then I had a buy here, and I had a buy here, and I just was like, swing trading is better than day trading. Like I can just sit for months. This was actually just like a DCA punt. I thought we were probably going
Buy
lower.
low, sell
Yeah,
high.
and then in a few months,
Stocks.com.
in a few months when things just get ridiculous, and maybe there's just like no momentum here and whatever, and you know, and then just get the fuck out. Made a nice trade, and all the while didn't really have to stare at the charts, although I do because it's my job. But yeah, long story short, I'd much rather.
Somebody just posted in the chat, like, since I've not focused on trading and just really just taking positions in things that I believe in, and then just working my way into things or out of things, it's so much less stressful. It's crazy.
Yeah. And ironically, it's less stressful, and ironically, it's actually more profitable in many ways. Like, you'll take less big losers.
Yeah.
I mean, you can avoid big losers as a day trader, but you know, I don't like going to sleep on the day that I had a red day trading. 'Cause, you know, I have tried it, right, where you're just going to sit there. I'm going to make $2,000 today, and you're up 400, you're down 600. At lunchtime, you're up 12, and then you end the day down 1,800, and it's just like, oh, that was a fucking ride. And then I go to bed, or I'm just like, it's stressful. If you catch a nice swing in the market, you know, you have little 3-day swings back, you know, the zigzag on the way up, but generally speaking, you're not a loser or a winner on any given day, and I much prefer that. You know, month over month equity curve is my goal. So I'm, more and more, especially now that I've had this baby, like I'm going to be moving into very few daily trades and just.
There'll come a point where this market matures, and it'll be, you know, you'll have to trade a little more, you know, strategically in that way, but.
Yeah, I mean, the tricky thing here is that, you know, even though I feel like we nailed it in talking about Solana and these Sol baskets and SBF, and I did buy here and I did buy here, but I didn't go crazy, and that's the nature of DCA, right? You're not going to have a huge win, but you're going to probably be positioned pretty well over time. And then now what do I do, right? Like, I want more exposure. It's moving. They're all moving. Solana hit new all-time highs. So I need to be patient here, because at some point, you know, bottoms rarely just form a parabola, right? It's often sort of like some kind of meandering chop at first, and then you eventually grow into a much bigger thing. So I need to be patient here, because when everything's up 70% on Monday or whatever, like, it was very hard to not get chopped up trying to add to everything, which I did do a little bit of. And then I got the fuck out because I was like, what am I doing? Like Step, for example. This thing went, what was it, 5 days? The thing went up 250%. Little Solana play. So I started buying this dip, and then on this bounce, I just sold it. I was like, you know, like this is done for now. I just thought it's way too high in the pattern for me to take a reasonable size. So we'll see. Looks like it might come into this reload zone and chill for a little bit.
I'll tell you, I saw a lot of shilling of Arweave this week.
Dude, Arweave's leading the day. I wanted to ask you guys about that. What the hell is it? I know Dan on the show a few weeks ago, you did one of these things, like you knew something that no one else knew, and we were talking about it, and you're like it's gonna go. Like, you just knew. How did you know?
Shit,
what do you know?
The right people were talking about it. I was hearing it from just too many people, and then even like the Solana guys.
It hadn't caught up with the market yet.
Yeah, and the Solana guys were like, so they were fucking great team and were speaking so positively about it, and then you're hearing it from funds and this one and that one, and then this week you see Mechanism Capital writes a 10-tweet thread about it. You see Andrew, I think Ru Kang wrote why he was bullish and owning it, and I mean, those are signals that it's a small enough space to where when people like they want to get out there and pontificate about why Arweave is worthy of a position, you know,
it's another asset that is like a critical component of an ecosystem. Like, we were talking with a founder of a really cool project today, who they're using Arweave, and he basically was like, look, the blockchain's not for data storage, it's not built for that. And so you have something like Arweave, like if you were running Twitter, for example, and you needed to you needed a database like 50 billion tweets, and you were running a Twitter style social network on a blockchain. Like, you're not storing those tweets on the blockchain, you're storing them in Arweave. That's what it's for.
Okay. You got a little quiet there at the last minute. I don't know if you twist that mic around again.
Leaning back. He's showing off his
who's aping into Arweave?
His Solana shirt. He's like,
well, I have a really sad story, and I'm going to just say it because we talk a lot about our wins as traders, and I think it's misleading sometimes. If you make a shitty move, sometimes, especially a guy like myself who talks about all the good things that I can do in the market. Well,
all losers, I'll do that.
Well, it was not even a loser; it was a winner, and I just misplayed it. I was averaging into Arweave based on what we had talked about over the last few months, and so it's a DCA bag. Don't touch it, but it's sitting on Binance because it's its own wallet, and I couldn't find any place to offload it. And I sold it last night because the market was coming off. It was having a really nice day. It was way up. It was at this resistance. Anyways, I sold it at like $22, and I'm really sad today. I'm like, wait, do I ape back in? Do I have to let it go down? So I'm dick out on Arweave right now. I gotta wait. I'm gonna have to see if I can get in again somewhere. Not here.
What's everybody's biggest crypto loser?
Well, we'll find out in a month. If this is $100, it's Arweave. What about you guys? I've got a good one. I'll save it for the end, though. I talked too much.
I'm trying to think for a minute. Messy, what's yours?
I don't know, to be honest. I've had a ton of big wins and big losses.
Sen
was just really, really bad because it was like, I think I put 400 Ethereum into it when Ethereum was worth like $1,400. So, I mean, that just never played into anything. And also, huge mistakes. So, basically in 2019, I think it was early 2019, I'd basically gone all in on two things. One of those things was REN, Republic, right? Which is obviously, I mean, fuck. Like, that was a great move. The other thing that I'd gone like half in was called Hxro Chain, which was the biggest. It went to zero, like literally. So thank God for
Zem.
Hxro, EXIM. It was they'd forked JP Morgan has like their own private version of Ethereum. Quorum maybe is what it's called, but they had forked Quorum, and they were working with They're working with some kind of supply chain network or something, some kind of shit like that. Anyway, it sounded hype at the time. This is back in like the IDEX days. I was able to get a big chunk of the supplies, feel good about it. And those the warning signs just kept popping up. And what they actually fucking did was, it was liquid on DEX, and they moved everybody over to their own proprietary L1, which had zero fucking liquidity, and then they exit scam. So
Ooh.
It's
weird that it's not even at zero. It's like, I always wonder, I'm like, who is still holding bag? Like, who's still trading that thing? It was at like 2
Zim's
cents.
for sure at zero. I mean, there's nowhere to fucking trade it.
Okay.
Yeah, it's 100. Hope Lou.
What was it again? EIX?
EXIM. It was sad because she was, MIT grad. Like, it checked all the boxes, like teams full of MIT grads. And, I was like, okay, like this is some big brain shit. And it ended up being pretty small brain instead of big brain. So
not the right size brain. Yeah.
Not the biggest loss dollar wise, but in terms of my, my net worth, like that was disturbing.
Painful. Yeah.
Yeah. What about you, Dame? I feel like you had one in mind when you asked that question to the panel.
You know what? In crypto, luckily, I haven't gotten. I've made a couple of really Current was a bad one.
CRNC. Yeah, when Current. Still waiting. Actually, I have a bag of that too.
Was a bad one. I've been fairly like when I first bought Bitcoin in like 2015. Like I bought my first Bitcoin at $219, and it literally shot straight to like 900, and I tripled up, and then it went to literally the next day went to 300, and I puked everything I tripled up on, and then it like was a long time ago, you know. And then
Yeah,
like,
full
that was
disclosure,
all
guys,
bad.
I was done. Yeah,
I've had some.
Smart
I
man.
mean, 9/11, I got absolutely destroyed around that. Like the
the
you
Twin Towers day.
Twin Towers. Yeah,
When the
that was
markets
probably
fell.
the worst loss I've ever taken. But
I remember you mentioning that to me. We just
Yeah.
levered up long, like you do.
I had
and
options. I had everything on the wrong way, and I was young, and I was like, well, you know, if I lose all this, like, I'll make it back in 5 minutes. Big deal. And like, it sent me for a loop.
it happened.
Took a long period
Jesus.
of PTSD to get over. You don't realize at the time until it happens, and it's like literally like riding a motorcycle without a helmet.
Yeah.
But
Oof, I felt that one in my stomach. What about you, Robert? Old Robbie
Let's see.
has never lost a trade in his life.
There's been so many.
Robert Norris pushes the world down when he does push-ups.
No, there's been so many. I think oh my God, there's been so many. The one that, I mean, in crypto, the ones that are really sticking out are more of the options losses. I mean,
Do you ever get caught in a bad situation selling vol?
I mean, does a fat baby fart?
So yeah.
Yeah, but it was even spreads. Like, it wasn't even just pure selling vol. You can own stuff against it. Like, I remember when the July Nove, like the old crop, new crop soybean spread decided to blow out from like a South American weather issue. I was just short like a bunch of July vol, a bunch of July options in long November against it, the new crop. And like that thing literally went nuclear. Like the spread, everything just crazy. And yeah, there's
by the way, Rob, I've known Rob for 8-9 years now, and like he can take heat better than any trader I've ever seen in my life. Like I can sit in on a trade, and he's got conviction, and like it's something that I've never like. I would be like running through a wall to like exit something. It's like
yeah,
I'm just
cool as
sipping
a
Mai
fucking
Tais,
cucumber.
adding to the position.
not great. I mean, I think net over my career, it's been a net positive, but some of the it's not. It sucks, but that, like, if you're a real market maker and you're putting on positions in some of this illiquid stuff,
It's the risk you take.
you're spreading against some other stuff. Like, dislocations happen, and they can keep like stretching, and
Yeah.
you don't want, when like that rubber band is so stretched, you don't want to be the person to be like getting the tap to where you're going to break it, you know, and like you're going to get out at the worst absolute level. Ideally you want to be putting it on at when it's super stretched, and like that's when the people with the most capital come in and say, holy shit, July's trading this to Dees, fucking
That's
put
not
on
right.
1 million of it, put on 10 million of it, you know, like, and that's where unfortunately some people are getting the tap, like, are you crazy? This could go another 10, you know, like points in your face, and you're like, well, it could. And like it's those times where like,
It's so painful, and it's like when you trade commodity futures, like especially when you trade up close to expiration, you have this like a lot of, like in crude oil, for example, you have this like cash versus physical, and like there's a trade that switches between the two, or like this happens in natural gas too, and like every so often, like you guys make livings doing nothing but just like selling the physical, because it always trades at a little premium to cash settled, right? Because there's a premium to actually like own it. And why is there a premium is because every so often, like, a power company fucking needs that natural gas, and when they need it and they're a public company and they have a responsibility to keep everybody's, you know, heat going, they'll pay any price for it. So you get this massive dislocation, and a lot of times you see it like when you're not trading and you're watching somebody else trade it, like you can see it building up, and you're like, oh my god, this thing's like like that spread went from like 2 ticks to 7 ticks to 10 ticks, and like you don't put it on small because you got to put a lot on. It's like picking nickels up in front of a steamroller. And every so often that thing goes, it's not that you're like, it's like you just can't stay solvent is the problem.
Well, yeah.
And so if you're on that, there's 100 other desks that are on that the wrong way on that trade too. And when they get you caught wrong-footed on that, like that is the nastiest. It will make your nastiest, ugly Bitcoin sell-off from 2018 when we, March 2019, we hit 4,000. Like it makes that look like you're trading like, one-day commercial paper. Like it is so fucking violent and nasty that I wouldn't show my worst enemy.
What about like that dream scenario, the craziest scenario when, you're looking at your crude oil futures and options book and you're looking at it and like, yeah, I mean, if it goes to zero, then yeah, we're going to get, washed out. And the thing goes like $40
negative
under zero. Like, I mean, like shit happens in the oil is like the biggest commodity market or one of it on earth. Like,
yeah.
And you're looking at a front month future go $40 negative. I mean,
let me ask you this, Rob, because I remember when that happened, and I didn't even know that was something that was possible. But I read this thing on Reddit about this dude that thought he was being gigabrain.
I was just going to ask about this guy.
He bought, a shitload of like physically settled oil futures or something like that while it was negative, and they were like, "Oh, were you trying to have us put all this oil, bro?"
Yeah. So where would you like delivery, sir? He's like, delivery? I thought I was buying shitcoins.
Yeah, he couldn't. I mean, fuck. What are you gonna do? Like, rent out a barge or something? Like,
right.
And that's, I think, why it went negative, right? Because the cost for delivery was so high, or the supply they were just full, or.
Yeah, there was literally
nowhere to put that shit.
Nowhere to put it. But
there was like freighters sitting out in the fucking Houston ship channel.
That's what it was, right? Go rent a ship, and then you can store it there, but you'll get it for $40 off or whatever.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That idea, like, honestly, what's happening in crypto, I think personally in DeFi and crypto in general, the evolution and innovation in liquidity, right? Liquidity is literally the blood. It is the life of markets. And what's going on in liquidity and the innovation in liquidity is staggering. And it's really got even the traditional finance people, like, at first they're like, it's a fucking scam, like, no way. And now, like, they're saying, holy shit, things are going to be so much different in 3 years, 5 years, 10 years, 20 years. This innovation is real, and it's like, it's changing the world. That's what's happening in markets. And yeah, a lot of it, we joke about testing and prod and how DeFi is experimental and all that, but it is pushing the boundaries of really how risk can transfer, ideally in a more efficient manner. And we are seeing it. Of course, it comes with a lot of black eyes. I mean, we saw the $600 million, whatever we want to call it. Is it a heist? Is it a hack? Is it a exploit in the Poly ecosystem? But
600 million.
It's huge. I mean, it's huge. But when you think about it, the guy gave half of it back or even more. And I was reading some stuff. I couldn't even tell if it was real or not, that they named him like the chief security officer.
They invited him to be chief security advisor. Yeah.
Yeah, like something absurd.
It was a gigabrain exploit, like mega gigabrain.
Really?
Yeah, I read the thread on it. It was pretty cool.
So, some of the guys that actually know about this shit were like, holy fucking shit, like that was insane.
Basically convinced a smart contract that he was them. Or, like convinced the smart contract that he was the key manager, and then just managed all the keys. Like, it was crazy.
He literally convinced the smart contract that like hack itself or some shit. Like it was just wild. When I was in the pool talking with this vascular surgeon, I tweeted out when I was at the beach that I met a crypto was going to zero guy. And he was like, oh yeah. He was like, well, did you read about that $600 million hack or whatever? He goes, all your shit's gonna get hacked. All your Bitcoin's gonna get hacked. Ethereum's gonna get hacked. Like all that, I was like, dude, what are you talking about? But it's not a good look for the ecosystem. I'll tell you that much, because you've got a normie here, a crypto doubter, and these are the headlines, right?
Yeah.
That is the worst. I just dealt with that with like, I had somebody that I knew, wonderful older guy that, he made a joke to me. He's like, well, everybody in crypto evades taxes. And I literally almost blurted out, fuck you, man. Like, you want to see my taxes?
Should have.
You want to see what I fucking paid? Like,
yeah.
Like what? Like that is, I can't believe a well-educated guy like that is like, actually, that's his first thought. But the reality is that's the headline. Like,
yeah,
that's the story. That's what makes news.
And a severe lack of education. A severe lack of education.
All right.
Well, it's kind of like me coming to Chicago this week, and I said to Rob, I said, should I be wearing a bulletproof vest? And it's because the only news that we get in my city about Chicago is the number of shootings. And it's like you would think that it's a war zone. Like, and maybe in some numbers it is. I'm just throwing that out there. I mean, I'm like, dude, like a lot of people live in cities. It does, not everyone's getting shot, but that's what makes headlines.
Yeah.
I didn't actually plan on bringing a vest, by the way.
Yeah, no, it's true. You never know. But how about like I think there's
Rob, you're not instilling a ton of confidence.
About that, I might bring a plate, one
dude,
steel plate.
No, I mean you're good. We're like, you don't have to worry. But I mean, shit happens. Like,
I won't be talking any smack to people. I'll tell you that if we go out for a few drinks.
You're good. You're a happy Canadian, eh, my lady?
Toronto, Toronto, you could be pretty confident that you're just going to throw down with a guy. I feel like in the States, it's always like everyone might be packing. You just, it's a calmer environment until it's not.
No, it's good.
Well, it's a whole other topic. What were you going to say? I cut you off.
All right, this is what I was going to say. Before the second or third exploit, Thorchain, Rune, after the dip, that thing caught some real money flow. It caught some real excitement. It had the hack. The shit got blasted down, maybe even below $3. It's bounced back significantly. I feel like everyone kind of, the people who weren't real supporters dumped that shit. Ledger, he had a love-hate relationship with Thorchain, but then he is like fucking ace. It's like the second or third exploit. You guys fucking blow. Something could happen there. Like if they've really changed, like they've got a ton of audits and they're partnering with this security guy and that security guy and this and that, we could potentially, because its peers, like we've seen such pumpage out of some of its peers, to me, it looks like something that you can see some freak shit happen where everyone's like, what do you mean? That thing got exploited twice, and where it could literally go up $10 from here and people will, it'll be one of like those hated rallies because everybody gave up on it. And,
well, that's kind of like the TWAPing dips. And we had it earlier in the year with Bunny where it got completely exploited. It literally hit zero. And then for a couple hours after, you're like, I just want to know, is it dead? Right? Are they going to fix it? Because it was like $300 million market cap yesterday and now it's $2 billion. And so can I catch a bounce? And we actually did. We it went from like a penny to $20-$40 and then now it's like dead.
But look how bullish that structure could look on the daily. Like if it manages to kind of get a little W here, this inverse head and shoulders feel. I mean, you could see it go from 850 to like $14 in a couple days. I mean, it could do that. I'm not saying it's going to, but like I like to look at stuff that got a lot of excitement, got a lot of activity, a lot of like both, volume and also hype, both positive and negative in like social channels, because that's like kindling for a real fire. And those are the times where you can catch a move from 8 to 14 kind of quickly and be like, thank you, Thorchain. I don't even, I might not be a believer in what you're doing, but that setup with the like fuel, that's the kind of thing that you're looking for.
Shit looks awesome.
It looks really bullish right now. It's kind of crazy to me. I can't even see. I mean, I could guess that the exploit was around here and here, but if you look at other charts, this doesn't even stand out that crazy to have had 2 exploits and then this huge bid coming in at the 88.6 and now you know, like it's really strong when you have every reason to just like have lost faith in people, and you're like, wow, if they can get through 2 exploits, hardly lose any levels beyond what other coins did, and bounce, like,
or money. They have treasury. Like they could be in the same shape. It literally could just be a black eye from a you know, an unfortunate thing, and their practices may be turned around. Like it, you never know. It's like those sort of things, those setups, they could be big. It's just stuff to look for. You look for where, like, when things had a ton of fuel in the past, because that's all, like, to me, it's like potential energy, right?
yeah. Well, MH just told me that Chicago's the best summer city in the world, so that's really exciting. Sorry to get totally distracted there. Look, I got to step back.
True.
I got to go one step back to biggest loss, because I had it all set up. I was going to tell my story. We moved on. You guys know these guys, and I have no hate for them at all. In fact, I'm buddies with one of the founders. I partied them with in New York. But my biggest fuck up and loss was my Beaksy, and I still have the bag. I actually added to it because I'm just a crack addict. But it was bear market. It was a pre-sale that I was excited at, you know, 2018 and then 2019, and then I had an opportunity to add on at like a 3.5 cent pre-sale, and I saw the hype around the, you know, in the chats, and it was going to come out and launch at 6 cents. So I loaded the fuck up at 3.5 cents, like relative to my current portfolio at the time. And it came out and it launched and it went to 12 and 13, and I didn't sell a thing. I didn't take my initial back. I didn't do any of my risk management, and I rode it to very low. So I basically made back half my bull market in that one play, and then watched it all go to zero. So I experienced 2017 twice in 2 years, and it was the worst experience of my
Where
trading.
in the world is Artak Sebdedev?
Where in the world is, yeah, who knows, man. That's where it all went wrong.
On the lamb, isn't it?
Bro, I gave him a hug in New York City. We were at the club, and he's like, "Eh, my friend," and we had just done the raise, and it was great. And the fucking guy, I never heard from him again.
I remember we saw him in Vegas, and he said he made like 300 grand playing blackjack, and his strategy is that he never hits to bust. So like he could be like like the dealer could have a face card, and he's got 12, he stays. He just never hits. And like if he could bust.
I remember the first time we met him at something in Chicago, and it was
and
oh my gosh.
Yeah,
he took off with the kitty, man.
Another big L was TKY, and not because this is the time I got not hacked, but I guess scammed. I had put 1 Bitcoin into this pre-sale in 2017, 2018, I don't know, which at the time was like Bitcoin was not as high, right? And it was a big bet though. And then during the public sale, I got FOMO and tried to add on, and I got scammed. You know, there was like a hot email that came into my thing, and it was like, "Oh, it's filling up. Just click here." And it was like late at night. I was in bed. I clicked, and I aped in 10 Neo, which was the max. And Neo was high at the time. It was like $300, and
that's the Chinese Ethereum, right?
Chinese Ethereum. It was peak Chinese Ethereum season. This was like a Neo ICO, and then it didn't go through, I thought, so I sent another 10. I said, worst case, they'll send it back. Well, it was a scammer's wallet. So I sent double the allowed maximum to a scammer on a coin that I already had a large position in. So, anyways, sharing all the L's today. That one stung. I learned a lot. And look, looks like it's not dead. I don't hold this one anymore, but maybe I should.
So a little volume coming in there.
It's like an identity play. It's like a civic ID kind of thing.
Someone asked about sand earlier. I forgot who it was, but you know the those metaverse. I don't think we've seen the last of this metaverse craze at all.
No.
But I don't.
In fact, we talked about this, Dan, when we were talking about Axis and you know how we missed it and stuff, and it's okay because there's going to be 50 gaming plays coming out. Well, I got to find it, but I just saw a short list the other day. It's absurd. There's literally like 70 in the pipeline right now. Play to earn is going to be flooded, much like launch pads were through 2021. You saw PokeStarter, DAOmaker, a couple pretty successful early ones early this year, and now it's like there's over, I would say, 50 launch pads. And as somebody who dabbles in the VC space, I can tell you right now, it's very seasonal, and those pre-sales, those new
What
projects,
about Star Atlas?
they'll dry up. Yeah, that's the one. Actually, a guy, he might be watching. I don't remember exactly who, but he DM'd me a long spiel telling me all about Star Atlas. But the IDO is like a $60 ticket lottery, so I didn't.
Let's look at some of these metaverse. Now we got some stuff flowing in the chat. Let's just look at some of these metaverse.
I'm going to pull up Star Atlas right now because that's the one that I have.
There are going to be some gems. I saw some headlines in like just real mainstream news about Facebook and someone else saying that the metaverses, we're all in on it. That's the future. I would imagine we're going to see some real wizardry coming from.
Yeah, there's some fun ones. ILV has been absolutely killing it. It's probably leading in the pumps. Has that somebody mentioned that? Because look at this thing. I mean, this thing has run. I picked it up thinking I'm an idiot because I don't like buying pumps. I picked it up at like 298. I didn't buy enough. Like this thing just hit 500. And the interesting thing is this thing started pumping June 25th in the middle of the bear market, so to speak.
Dude, that thing went from fucking Jesus.
Yeah.
That's insane.
Like June 25th, this thing was $33. So it's like 12x or whatever that is.
Oh my God.
So Star Atlas is one. I've got a long couple paragraphs here. I won't read it all, but it sounds really dope. It sounds, there's going to be a lot of these.
Star Atlas is the Solana doll too, so you might get some flow through there.
Yeah.
What else we got? RNDR. Sean's talking about RNDR. We got Roger, Nancy, Ditka, Roger.
Okay. Yeah. Ooh, this one's interesting. It's kind of it's kind of plugging away, and there's nice volume on this latest day. So
that's a Space Needle. See who does that?
Well, that's Uniswap. Yeah, these charts often look pretty gross. Render token. So is that the one? Okay, so Wild is one that I keep seeing pop on Twitter, only on the up days though. I don't know why. No one ever tweets about it when it's in a dip for me, but that's the nature of social media, I guess. So there's Wild. Yeah, I remember this. It came out, it was getting hyped, then it died, everyone laughed at them, and now they're all revenge tweeting. That's my loose take on Wild. I'm trying to find this sheet. Somebody shared with me a sheet the other day, and that's when I just laughed. I was like, oh, we're on to something, Dan, because there was just like, okay, here we go. Look at this. Upcoming gaming projects. This is alpha right here. I don't know if I'm supposed to share this, but it looks like it was designed to be shared, so let's go. Altcoin alerts on Twitter. It's not who gave this to me, but somebody popped it into my DMs, and there's a lot on here.
Yeah.
Yay games. So I guess this is an interesting place to start if you want a basket of sort of early buys on some of these. And, AXS was around for a long time before it got sexy. In fact, I think I remember somebody talking to me about it in 2020, like earlier, maybe before it was even trading. Certainly before it was on Binance. And, it caught the user base. It caught people's attention, and it's the first really popular play to earn, at least that I know of. So the cat's out of the bag now. So before they get the user base, a lot of these will probably pump just on speculation that they will eventually catch the user base. There's Star Atlas, Alameda, Serum, FTX. Yeah, it's launching on Radium. You need to hold 500 Ray to get into the lotto, and you can get like a $60 or $70 IDO ticket, which for the headache and the disappointment that comes with losing that lottery, I don't really want that. But I will look to buy it on launch if it's, if it's trading on FTX or something.
What's up with the NFTs? I know you've been getting active. You responded to a tweet I saw. Were you a parallel guy?
I am a parallel guy. I've got it in my name now on Twitter. Don't get me started. I'm a little upset with parallel. I'm going to go on a rant here. Why the hell is people shilling these things so hard as if they don't, as if they couldn't buy a few more? It's a dick move. And I'll give you context to that comment. I was drawn to the idea of building up this 52 set. I was adding like all these special editions and shit. It's just really cool game. I'm bullish on it. I think you can see from the detail in the cards, the founders, what they've already done so far. You know, they're augmented reality, like they're innovative. They're gonna deliver here. And so I'm fired up, and I'm like, oh, I'll buy a bunch of special editions. And then I learned more about it. I was like, oh, you can buy a full set of 52, and that's going to be worth more because it's kind of like, you know, it's a collector thing. It's a complete set. And this alpha series, what's come out, this initial drop is, you know, there will be more. For example, this card, graphene batteries, like there's going to be many more of them. They're not going to cost $65K. Like what shitty card game would that be, right? But the newer ones, the later ones, the ones that drop eventually for playing with, those won't be alpha series. Those won't be, they won't be the original ones. They're not the collectibles. So I could see these really getting value. So I tried to buy the full set. I was aping into them the other day after seeing some guy tweet about it. And I guess a lot of people saw him tweet about it. And so this card, and here's where I fucked up and why I'm a little salty. I went and bought the cheap ones. You know, there's 52. I'm going to buy them all, but I bought the cheap ones and I set low bids on the expensive ones. Well, they all 3x'd. So the relative cost increase hit me so hard on the expensive ones that I didn't buy yet, to a point where this thing that was 4 ETH overnight turned into 12. And I was like, well, I'm not paying $40,000 for a fucking card. Sorry. And I am sorry, because I'm sure that set's going to be 7 figures one day. And I can get it now for $250, and I'm not going to do it because I'm salty. But, you know, anyways.
Gunny,
so I am.
Were you ever a card collector? Were you a rated rookie collector? Were you?
Oh yeah.
Were you?
I got a pretty decent collection still.
I feel like Dan used to fight kids over baseball cards on the like that. Yeah. Ken Griffey Jr., bro.
I used to play,
Ken Griffey Jr.
play draw
Rookie.
poker for their cards. Yeah. But yeah, no, I was like I had a few names that I collected pretty, like Wade Boggs and Don Mattingly and Carl Yastrzemski, Al Kaline. Like I had a good collection going. A couple early Pete Rose cards, and then like got into the sets and just been sitting on them for forever.
So yeah.
They made a little comeback, right?
Well, so here's my take on this. I mean, it's very bullish. It's exciting. It's the NFT season. The sets are, you know, they're going to be exclusive. There's
I got a Mark Messier rookie.
But here's my question, Rob, and maybe am I crazy? Watch this while I talk though, because this augmented reality shit like that they're creating is so next level.
Yeah.
But here's the thing. Let's say Magic the Gathering. I remember from when I was a kid, it just kind of been coming out in the 90s and that, and there was this card called Black Lotus, and we had this little catalog as kids, and there was the prices of each card, and the Black Lotus was the most expensive. It was $400, and I remember being like, oh man, like if we only had that, we'd be rich, right? Well, now apparently there's something like $30,000 to $60,000 for that card if it's mint and all that stuff, right? These cards came out a month ago, but the alpha set dropped a month ago. Look at the top prices, right? So, I mean, obviously this isn't what someone's paid for, but they're listing it at thousands of Ethereum. But there's some trading volume on these things for 200, 300 Ethereum. And if you hold a Masterpiece card, then you get a cut of all the trade volume fees on that underlying card indefinitely. So you can actually make your money back. So it's like an investment card. So for example, for every card, there's a Masterpiece version. It's one only. And every time that card gets traded, part of that fee goes to the holder of the Masterpiece. So I get that. But there's some of these like concept art, you know, this one, it's 88 ETH, whatever. I guess my question is like they're launching in a mania, if you will, with NFTs. Is there a time when people just are like, okay, cool, but like these collector items started at such a high fucking price. Where's your ROI? I don't know. Maybe I'm salty because I want them to be cheaper. I think they're going to go much higher, but
how many? I guess the question I have is how many of these things are getting minted? How much?
Won't click for some reason, but it does say on them, right? And so there's different ones. Like there's a series of 2,000, series of 1,000, series of 40. And they're priced fairly accurately based on that. And there's some discrepancies, and that's where the alpha is right now if you wanted to buy and trade these things. You know, for example, like Aurora Fungi. This just looks dope. It's the first card I ever saw. I thought that looks really cool as far as buying art. I'll try that one. There's basic versions of this that there's thousands of, and they're cheap. But this is the special edition. There's 76 of them only. And this is not from the alpha drop. This is from the pre-sale back in April. So yeah, there's a lot to it. And as you can see, the prices have just been exploding. I mean, back in July, you could buy this thing for 0.37 ETH. Now it's 60K.
This is a world that I truly do not understand. I feel it's like, I was a trader and everyone's like, oh, you must play poker. I'm like, no, I don't play poker. I don't gamble much. And people are like looking at me like I was crazy. I don't understand this stuff. Do I feel like an idiot that I wasn't in there aping into some of these punks and apes and all that? Yeah, I do. But
like a misread of the table, like read the room kind of thing.
I feel like I'm the mark. I'm the guy who's giving up edge. So I haven't. And I'm also not, I'm not a big collector guy. I'm more of a market freak. But I think this stuff has a future. I think there's going to be more value that builds here. I just don't know. I don't know what's going to be it. And I don't know the mechanism yet. Like you just taught me about these masterpieces where you get a cut of the trading value.
Yeah, that's cool, right? So these guys are doing a lot of things that I found intriguing, aside from just Magic the Gathering as a soft spot in my heart because I traded it and collected it as a kid. But I'll tell you, the last thing here that I fucked up, and so anyone watching, maybe this is something to learn, is I was being a cheap ass, right? I was finding these, and I tried to get in on the launch. It was that weekend I was away, and I was in the internet and the hotel internet, and I got 3 of the most basic pack, and just with a 2-minute refresh, and I was already, the others were sold out. I was like, oh, that turns out that was a terrible, unfortunate thing, because some of those are selling for 100K now. What was costing, $100 or something. However, once they launched, I was like soaking up the cheap ones. I was like, ooh, I'm going to put them on the floor. I'm going to sweep up the floor. But it's like, those more expensive ones are because they're more coveted. And so when it rises, they rise at a relatively faster rate. And I learned that sort of the hard way. Even in collecting this 52 set, I started with all the cheap ones, and it's like, bro, like ape into the most expensive, secure that, because this is where, these were 6.7 2 days ago, and they're just like, so when they double, I now have to pay whatever 14 ETH, whereas the other one doubled, it's only 2 now. It used to be 1.
I was having daydreams on the way to the city in the car this morning of the headlines in the past few weeks about BlackRock buying up all the houses, driving up the housing market so they can rent them to everybody. They were just fucking trying to corner. You're seeing these stories of real funds with real capital, like 3 Arrows and others that are getting in there and buying up like the floor, a shit ton of NFTs. And that, to me, like, that adds a new kind of wrinkle into this market. If you're watching big entities, big funds, like big money come in and say, you know what, we think this NFT space is going to be big. We want exposure, not just to the token or whatever it is, but we want to actually buy some of these assets. That changes the game a little bit. I mean, you're seeing a lot of people are like, is it good that BlackRock's in there buying up all these single family homes so they can rent it at a high price to everybody? Like, I don't know if that's good or not. People are like, I don't know. So to think about some big entities and people are raising money to invest in NFTs right now. I mean, yeah, this is a big thing.
It's not just, And I guess the sad thing is that we talked a lot about it last summer, Nick and I on the stream, and Nick was like, yeah, NFTs 2021, like it's going to be this huge thing. And I said it and I agreed with it, and I was speculating on some NFT tokens, but I never bought any NFTs until Parallel at that launch. And it is addictive. It is relatable to things that have already existed pre-crypto, similar to how gaming is a great onboarding mechanism. I think some of these are. And from what I've seen, because like the straight pictures, like the 10,000 mints that are just like, maybe everyone will like them, maybe they won't. That doesn't interest me. I need mechanics. I need a game. I need something that can grow. And I think Samp said it really well here. He said in the chat that, it has a future and it will be a bubble. Like Parallel will have a future. It will be around. It will probably grow and do really well for a few years at the very least, but it'll also have a bubble. It will get overvalued. It is arguably, getting there. But so I'm not going to chase. I'm not going to throw $40,000 into one of these friggin', the last 2 cards that I need in this set. The rest of the set will still gain value if it's going to gain value at all. And if we ever get into a depression where everyone hates these things and they're calling it a scam, maybe I'll go.
Well, how do you? That's the one thing that scares me. If you think like altcoin futures and these markets are illiquid,
these are illiquid.
I mean, I can't I think it could get super, super illiquid. Same way on the way up and the way down, but holy shit, to be sitting on.
Look at the spread: 7 ETH bid, 28 ETH ask.
That's not efficient, right? Right there.
Or sorry, 18 ETH ask. Yeah.
But what we're seeing is there's a need for liquidity in that shit. Like if someone can tighten up that spread and figure out a way to get a 7 bid at 18 offer down to 13 bid at 13.5 offer. Now, you'll see some more.
Spoken like a true market maker.
Well,
and there's NFT liquidity things, trying to build up. But I mean, in a case where it's a limited supply, very limited supply, like there's literally 73 of this particular card. I mean, you can't necessarily generate liquidity. You need a collector who's going to sell, and you need a speculator who wants to buy.
Well, I asked Daniel, who's a king shit poster and Twitter guy, but I get a chuckle out of Alan in the chat says, well, what even are these things? And what Twitter has told us and shit posting is it's a JPEG. But what really is it?
This
Daniel, to you, what is this shit? Are you an owner of what do you own NFT wise without giving away
I've got a Bored Ape. That was a gift from a friend. So I put it on sale for 133.7 Ethereum. That's the only way that I would feel comfortable letting that go, just because it was a gift, and I'm not trying. Somebody gives you something, I'm not trying to
flip
Who
it.
Gave it to you?
I'm not trying to be like, hey, thanks for the money, bro. It's not
Cash
like
prize.
that. That was a nice gesture. So I've got a Bored Ape, and then I've got I was hungover and bored when I came back from the beach, and there was some mint going on for spooky ghosts or some shit. So, I minted a bunch of those just for fun. And two, I feel like as somebody that's been here for the longest time, even if I'm not a huge believer in this, I'd be doing myself a disservice if I didn't at least have that experience under my belt and just to have a bit of understanding about it and see what it's about. So that's one of the reasons why I did it as well. And so there's, of course, you've got your art, you've got your parallel, you're trading card games and stuff, which could have future value to collectors, deck builders, first editions, shit like that. But the majority of what's going on right here, it reminds me of 2014. And, when I realized that, I was a bit upset, that I missed everything that's going on. Because, that's what made me fall in love with crypto. We're talking old school Bitcoin talk, literally dog shit. But it didn't matter back then. There was no such thing as fundamentals. We were just playing games. And that's what this NFT shit is. And it's interesting because they've got this kind of scratch off ticket lottery element to it, right?
The minting, that's fun.
Even with a small bankroll, the minting process is fun because, you see people on Twitter joking, looks rare, that's one of the new memes, because the thing is you can come in as a guy with 2-3 Ethereum and you can get lucky on a mint and get one of the rare ones, right? So you're on an even playing field in the sense that you're all playing scratch offs, but you're not on an even playing field. Like with shitcoins, anybody has the opportunity to buy it low and sell it high, right? But I can come in and I literally can win the lottery here, and I can have my 3 Ethereum and walk away with 20, 30, 40. So it's a lot of fun. It's a lot like those 2014 era shitcoins, to where instead of coins, we're trading fucking pictures. We know they're dog shit, they're stupid, whatever, but it doesn't matter because, hey, we're pumping shit right now. And it's all in the name of just fun. But, people say money laundering and this and that. Man, look, there's money laundering going on everywhere. I wouldn't say it's specific to this NFT space. And you know what? There's probably more efficient ways to do it than this NFT shit too.
How's this though? Is there a run of this simulation where these aren't actually dog shit in the future?
No.
Some of them, I think there's definitely a place for this, and they'll stick around, and there'll be liquidity growing probably over the years. But there's a bubble, and then it'll be like altcoins. They'll bubble, they'll season, they'll die, and some schmuck over in the side will start loading them up, and they'll get cool again. I hear you though on the minting thing, and that was a revelation for me. My first one was this Mystic or Pepper attack, and and this is another. This is it looks rare. It's another gaming one, right? So it's like there will be a game, and you can stake these, and you can.
It's funny to see the evolution of this because people it requires more effort now. You don't just mint some dog shit and then it's, hey, we hope it pumps. We let somebody come in and sweeps the floor. And there's even like a dynamic to how these markets pump too.
There's a lot of
whales have algorithms that come in and just everything that's listed on out of the floor. They want to raise the floor. That's what gets the plebs to FOMO in this shit. Oh my God, the floor just got
the floor is going up. I get 100 emails because I minted a fuckload of these like an ape, and I minted the most rare one though. I just wanted to pull this up to tell you guys that the number one most rare thing, and I didn't know what's going on, and I checked it in the Discord, and the team and the guys are all like, "Holy fuck, bro! You just won the lotto." Well, there's no bid on these right now, but I'm holding that rarest one in case this takes off.
I've got one of the rarest ones of the Spookies, whatever, and there's no bids on it, right? But it looks rare, It
looks rare. This guy's got the purple hair, very rare.
Yeah.
He's got the wings. He's got the moon face. So we'll see.
That's the thing that caught me off guard was like, there's like 3 or 4 Twitter accounts they're just fucking snake oil hustlers.
Yes, like this is going to be the next one. Everyone.
The funny thing about it, dude, you've never seen me put a shitcoin as my profile picture on Twitter. I mean, come on.
The floor is up. The second I heard a couple of, and I'm not going to name those accounts, that they were like, the floor is up to 30 ETH. I'm like, this is a motherfucking scam. There is like 5 or 6 of these dudes. They're working together.
Yeah. Which next one are we going to make? Because they make it big, right? They make it big, and so then it's like, ooh, what's their next one? And you start following them to find out, and then the herd goes. So I do think, like any bubble, and like you call it a bubble, and everyone gets mad because they're like, you're just a hater because you're not in it. I'm like, no, it's just human nature. We'll overbid it, and then the floor will fall, and people will panic to get out because they were trying to make money and they didn't care about the actual art. And we'll find a floor, and we'll probably oversell it too, and it'll get really depressed. The reason I'm so fired up about Parallel is just because it's actually a game. It's kind of a proven concept.
I think one of the OG Google guys is involved with Parallel as well. That's at least like the word around the street.
Yeah, well, look at this art. I mean, some of the art designers are from like ex-Blizzard developers. Like, I mean, they've got legit stuff going on, and they're doing AR, like augmented reality. This will be around. They've put a ton of thought into it. I was listening to a podcast the other day. It's gonna have its day to be played and be a game. And so the question is, will the alpha set and all these special editions that are in a couple of years, maybe more, will they grow in value? I think yes. So that's why I kind of aped in. But I'm not selling them. Like, I'm not here like, oh shit, if the floor falls out, I'm up. I'm wrecked.
I'm not fucking leaving.
I'm not fucking leaving. Like, I'm not here. The other thing is, okay, you put 5 ETH into one of these or whatever, and then it goes up, it doubles. You know me, I like to sell half on a double. So if I could do this all again, when I first started aping in, I'd have bought 2 of everything, because then you could sell one when they double.
Noah's Ark over there.
One of the really interesting things that I've seen, about this whole NFT mania is that it actually doesn't require any money, and this is, in direct opposition to markets. It doesn't require any money to raise these floor prices. There's a lot of wash trading going on.
Yes, that's something I wanted to bring up.
You can have this rare item, right, and then own other rares and stuff, and what you're doing is you're just continue to sell it to yourself. Oh my God, now it's sold for 2 ETH. Oh my God, now it's sold for 5. Oh my God, now it's sold for 15. And then eventually some sucker comes in and buys it, and that's the next leg of the wash trading. So, that's another big knock that I think people think, you have multiple accounts, or whale buddies have multiple accounts. They say, we're just going to pump the shit out of these with our own money, and then the suckers will come in and we'll eventually offload. I think that's an interesting point too. There's something here. A scumbag ring, operating in this space, which I think is probable. Then that's exactly what they do. There's literally algorithms. They come in, they sweep these floors, and it doesn't matter if you spend 100 ETH sweeping the floor if that 100 ETH is going to you.
You got it.
That's a good point.
You got to stay away from that stuff. That just gets into kind of.
I mean, yeah, I can 10x an asset without spending any money. You know, if I want to 10x an asset, you know, that has DEX liquidity, it's expensive.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm not a.
I agree with Coach Papa though. Parallel's legit. It's I think a lot of those 10,000 mints. You know, I bought party penguins. Everyone was talking about penguins, and I was like, "Oh, you mean party penguins?" They're like, "Nah, bro, pudgy." I'm like, "Oh." So I think party penguins are like party penguins are like the Echo Pump.
You bought the Rolex.
They did, yeah. But I'm getting bids on them for more than I paid, so I'm almost like ready to get out of those because they're clearly
Big Mac. You got the Big Mac.
I'm getting bids on them. I should probably just sell those ones, but yeah, I'll tell you what, it's a learning experience. I said I'm probably buying top. I'm going to come in. I'm going to mess around, and like all markets, it'll go through depressions, and that's when I'll get serious about it. Now that I know a few things, because if it's a game that you can play to make money, like I'll fucking play it. It's clearly got a lot of flavor right now. People are making a killing. Who minted these packs. So I think the last thing I'll say on this before we switch back is the next drop for Parallel is in October and another one in January. And there's going to be a token. There's going to be a Prime token, and that will have, you know, that'll fold through their ecosystem. So this one's a little different. I think this one, they've really captured something. They've got 5 factions, you know, there's community, like they've got it all. They've been pretty brilliant so far. I'm excited. So, and I have a bag, full disclosure.
Yeah, Parallel's dope. I mean, Bored Ape has become like a cultural movement. You've seen all sorts of people making their avatars. Punks have actual Lindy. Like, there's definitely like the blue chips in the NFT space. You know, and it's funny to even talk about that. You know, I can't imagine in 10 years, you know, somebody coming back and being like, oh, you know what, I bought a floor punk for $1 million. Like, I don't. It doesn't make any fucking sense to me. But hey, you know, this is the world we live in. You know, why not?
I could see selling.
Crazier shit has sold for real value. Yeah. I know. There's an art that I just do not understand that could sell for $50 million. I don't fucking get it. I don't
limited supply.
Claim to get it, and it trades.
Yeah, I think that's sort of where I'm at with this one. I think that I'm convinced with Parallel that there are enough nerds in the world that will eat this up and buy it off me for more later. That's kind of where I'm at. It doesn't, you know, like I'd rather trade shitcoins than I am, but they've really nailed it here as far as like it's the first sci-fi card game. Like I think I can sell it to a nerd in a few years for more. That's basically where I'm at. So we're just going to leave it there. I'm a nerd, so that's not, you know, I'm not hating, and I'd also like to play. I really hope it's a fun game. That would make this a lot more valuable.
I'm in it for the game.
I'm in it for the game. I want to play. So we'll see. But yeah, please dump it, guys, because I have like 3 more cards in that set before I can lock it and set and forget. And it'd be like $100,000 to finish my set now. So I'm basically not doing it.
That's wild.
Yeah, it was probably like low 5 figs at one point, and I thought this is a worthy investment for years, but now it's a little bit ridiculous. So, anyways, shout out to the Parallel guys though. They are crushing it. Our buddy who wrote on our blog post, herelabs.io, Franklin.
Yeah,
he is leading the charge.
That dude crushed it.
Yeah, he's leading the charge on Parallel right now.
Yeah, we should tell people, smash that like button, join the Hero Labs Discord. I think we should get some voice channel stuff going on. If you want to come into the voice channel, leave some messages in the chat here. Let us know.
Maybe while we're in Chicago, let's go somewhere. Maybe, you know, let's get some beers and we'll just go hang out and do voice chat for a bit.
Smash the like, because the algos.
Yeah, raise the floor on our likes, guys. Right, sweep up the floor. And Jedi has been in the Discord asking a lot about the voice chat, so I think we should get in there. There's some interest for sure.
No, I'm not too shy for voice chat. Fuck, dude, it's more like timing. Like, let's do it.
RT, where were you charting spell earlier? Normally I use like Moon Tools, but I've been looking for somewhere else. There's like some inconsistencies in the data.
Chart. Oh yeah, let's go look at that just before we leave here. And it's been a long stream.
Just for some of the more like obscure, you know, kind of shit coins that.
Yeah, ChartX Pro is pretty dope. Is that
what you were using? Okay.
Yeah, that's what I'm on here. That's you got me onto this CoinTrader Pro, which has some limitations. ChartX Pro, you can now do like BNB projects, Uniswap projects. Like it reads the contract data, so it's like they don't have to list it; it's just auto. The chart token you actually have to hold to get certain features, but it's a good time to buy memberships because it's like dirt cheap right now. I think it's 100K to get like a watch list and stuff. So
100K chart tokens. Right?
Chart tokens, yeah, no,
that's like
$1,000. It's not too crazy. I mean, again, because you're holding it and it's a tool, right? But yeah, Spell looks really good, dude. Actually, during this stream, it broke even higher, so that's cool. This looks great.
That's the thing. When I type in Spell, it doesn't come up for me. Do you? I guess you've got the membership, huh?
So that's the thing. Is it sushi? Yeah. So for the
Yeah,
membership,
it's
yeah,
sushi.
Uniswap is basic, and if you want
Okay, I'm
sushi,
gonna have to cop some.
Pancake. Yeah, go get some chart. Eat up the chart tokens. They might pump anyway, so then your membership goes up. Look at Robbie just coming in hot.
There
He
you go.
says, "Show me that Sol chart one last time before we go."
Sol likes to move at night these days.
Yeah,
Like it really does. We should pull it up and look at hourly. So
The markets are bouncing where they should. So maybe you're right, Rob.
yeah. Look at ETH right here.
Maybe we got Chicken Little in the chat.
I'm hoping we get the
Look at-
super cycle.
Oh my God, yeah.
Ethereum is struggling below this trend line, but it is loving these little reload zones here. And I distinctly recall a phase of Ethereum where it did this, where it just kind of like
I've seen that before,
staircased itself up. If I can go far enough back on this hourly, but like it was doing that for a while. I think it was right here. Yeah, in January, like look at it. And it was just everyone's waiting for the big dump, and it just kind of staircased its way up and then found a little higher and then dumped again. But what was that dump? It was just a reload zone, right? So it's just kind of like ranging up here. Buying all of these really aged well for me through the early part of the year. It was a lot easier when it was cheaper, but anyways. So are we going to keep doing that? Looks possible.
Take a look at the Sol ETH chart right now, because I mean, is part of what we're seeing with ETH's weakness is some rotation or just some flow going into these like
massive rotation. Look at this. Look at this thing.
I think we're in two different categories of liquidity there. I mean, don't you? Like, would a
there's layers. No, for sure. But dude, everything about ETH right now, I mean, the burning, the deflationary, I think that's been a big positive. Now we've seen a move up, but still, I mean, it's hovering around 3,000. It could have moved more. Like we're seeing outsized moves into other layer one stuff. I think it's having a small effect. Doesn't mean that it's not going to chad, 20% in a little stretch here, but I don't know. It's kind of been a little weak.
What's that, ETH?
Yeah, just for what I think
it's a big market cap though, right? I mean, it's not going to be as easy to move at 380 billion. Keep an eye on this chart though, because this is a decent little downtrend against Bitcoin, and it's kind of moved above that. And as somebody, I think it was actually you yesterday, you and KJ, Messi, were talking about this monthly. I mean, you get this rounded bottom monthly breakout, and this is the first sort of consolidation after. Like, where does that go next? It does look.
Yeah, so it pops up and then it's just over. Like,
yeah,
that's what's so confusing about me. When I see like Sue and Kyle, who I respect a lot, talk about this whole like BTC dominance, like is about to remind you who's boss kind of talk. BTC dominance is for the most part, right? Ethereum. It represents a large portion of that, and
less and less, but
less and less, but still, when you look at charts like that, I'm like, well, like, do you know something I don't? Like, what are you talking about?
I don't see it. Yeah, I mean, it is sitting at a level, so if it breaks below this, it's all bets are off. It's going to be insane. That's ETH breaking out to highs. I still think we're going to be in a Bitcoin sub 20 dominance world someday, but it just seems logical that everything else will outpace it eventually in groups. But
I mean, that's like Nomad. Nomad's a big crypto Twitter guy. Dude's been in it forever, but he thinks that Bitcoin dominance is just flawed. Just
it is
plain and simple, because you can print as many
New
fucking-
projects, yeah.
Yeah. So,
Yeah.
I mean,
Well, that's why. If nothing else, we'll end up at 20 simply because there's 27,000 projects, and they're
yeah.
leaking in. But that's still liquidity. Like they're still there. But I guess you get Bcash that kind of like that's value that came out of literally nowhere.
Can we look at Bcash and
We were-
real quick?
Please no.
Oh my god.
On that note, we got to go, guys. Shut down the stream.
No, we had Dan, you want to tell it? Because this was.
No,
we
go
had
ahead,
a good
man.
mood about Bcash. We were playing golf with a buddy. You know, he was an ex-trader. He loves crypto, but he was honestly like talking about how he was buying more Bcash, and Dan and I looked at him like, "What? You're still buying?" He's like, he was talking like, Bcash was really getting major usage in a lot of different countries, and that it was like doing stuff. And I haven't looked at it. I'm looking at other stuff that's more exciting to me. So I hate.
He actually had been really shilled it by a very respectable super OG crypto Bitcoiner.
Yeah.
Super OG.
That's
Guy
I
that
just
was
Dan,
probably like one of the first guys from like the Chicago proprietary trading world that was like got knee deep into it.
Yeah, we looked at each other and we were like, we might be the idiots here. Bcash might fucking go a lot higher, but we just
It almost must,
I
right? It's
remember
just so hated.
walking
It's
out
such
of
a
that the Bcash side party.
yeah.
That hotel
was-
we were at in,
Was that
Taiwan.
Bcash or was that BSV?
Oh, that was BSV.
I think that was Satoshi
Never
Vision.
mind.
Where was that? In Korea? Yeah, it was like
Yeah.
that was like the Star Wars bar.
It totally was.
that was a classic. Good stuff.
So I won't trade it on principles. Probably stupid. If it looks good, I should just trade it. But it's just like it's almost like Doge for me, but even worse because Doge actually has a bit of a zeitgeist going on right now. But it just if it goes down, I'm like, oh well, I'm an idiot. Like I should have known. I have no faith in it. It's like Ethereum Classic. I can never get my head around it. Litecoin. These. If I don't see like a promising future, like Solana, and then you just put Solana there, it's like, well, which one is really fucking cool, right? Like I don't know. I can't see it. Who's building on Litecoin? What the hell?
Yeah.
I don't know. But it'll probably pump. But I just don't trade these particular coins because I don't want to get stuck holding them, and so I shake out every time they dip, kind of thing. Like you got to have conviction, right?
You never know. It takes, that's the one thing. These are kind of like non-expiring call options in a little bit of a little bit. You get some people like one wizard in there, some supporters are like, you know what, we're going to allocate resource to it where we believe in it. And all of a sudden, boom, like there's value. You never know. I haven't looked at Bcash. I haven't looked at what's going on with the development team. Like I have no clue, but
Yeah.
I'm not gonna tell the guy he's literally a psychopath for buying more Bitcoin Cash because I don't know.
Yeah, that's a good point. All I tell people is that like no, like my buddies just come in. They're like, hey man, I was thinking about this. I was going to buy these two, and it's always like ADA, XRP, Bcash, if anything, and I just say it's like, well, don't.
Yeah.
Not great advice though. ADA's been killing it. XRP had its fun. Bcash might wake up, but they asked. I'll tell them to pick up some smart contract platforms with DeFi and whatever else. Guys, we should probably wrap. It's 7:15 locally. We've had a really good sesh. I am coming to see you guys tomorrow. I'm so excited. I've never been to Chicago. I'm flying down there tomorrow. We'll be back next Wednesday, so I won't be live this Friday. That's why I went on Monday. Starting next week, actually, though, probably going to be getting 2 a week, probably Monday, Friday for me on stream, in between or on each side of DeltaFi with the squad. And I really hope, guys, that the inertia is in the market next week and we can have those glasses back because they look hot. So if you guys stuck around the entire stream, or if you just showed up part way and you haven't yet and you want to hit the like, that'd be great. If you're new to the stream and you haven't hit the sub yet in your life, try it out. It's free, feels good, tastes great. Otherwise, guys, whatever you do from now until next time, always play from a position of strength. Take care. The bounce looks nice in the market. Time to go look at some. Time to go FOMO into some longs at resistance.